Hello, welcome to Real Movie News. I'm Ryan Izay, and today we are reviewing The Long Night. It was a long view. The Long Night is another home invasion horror film, one of many that we've had over the past few decades. Actually, home invasion narratives have been around since the beginning of cinema, early silent cinema, following the Grand Guignol, the theater productions in France that were horror-driven and often depicted violence quite graphically. The short play Au Telephone, which is about a home invasion of a family while the father is away, and the father calls, and or I should say the wife is able to call the husband and hears their demise over the telephone, which is just horrific. And it was adapted to film many times. And the first American home invasion film that we had was The Lonely Villa, directed by D.W. Griffith, where he takes on that narrative. So there's a long-standing tradition. Initially, they weren't called home invasion narratives or home invasion horror or any of that. They were actually called Race to the Rescue films because often through the telephone, which was a new device, relatively new at the time that these films were made, that the father or husband would either have a chance to come and try and rescue them and not make it in time, or would make it in time and rescue everyone, and ta-da, happy ending. But I would argue that since 9/11, we've had an increase in home invasion narratives that are more allegorical in nature. But you get too many of them over the past 20 years, which we have, and there needs to be some variety. And the new variation, the new sub-genre within this subgenre is the occult or supernatural, because occult films have been very popular in horror recently, so it makes sense. Let's tie them both together. But I will say that The Long Night, not the first occult hybrid home invasion horror film that I've seen even this week. So even this has grown a bit tired. And I hate to say it, but The Long Night doesn't bring anything new to the conversation. Directed by Rich Ragsdale, The Long Night stars Scout Taylor-Compton, probably best known for playing the lead in Rob Zombie's take on Halloween, Laurie Strode, and Halloween 2, of course, a sequel to that. I actually had the opportunity to act in a film with Scout. The movie was called Cynthia. It's another horror film about a killer baby. There you go. You can see the bottom half of my face. In this film, Taylor-Compton plays Grace, a woman who doesn't know what happened to her family. There's no real explanation as to why she doesn't know this. Was she adopted? Was she orphaned? What happened? We don't really know. There's not a lot of context, and that's kind of the point, because it allows for some twists to happen, even if they don't really make a whole lot of sense. So we get this early scene with her having a conversation with her boyfriend. Oh, we're gonna go meet boyfriend's family, and then we skip to after they meet the family. Like, why was that even part of the film if they're just gonna skip past it? I don't know. But we have our typical home invasion drive to the location sequence where they're arguing, because a lot of times in these films it's become a narrative trope to have the couple at the center of home invasion narratives disagree with each other and some kind of a fight. And that's the little minor fight that we have, is that, oh, you didn't back me up when we met your family, which we never saw, which is not at all relevant in any other way to the narrative. So that's that. Then we get more tropes when they get to the house, including, the phone lines not working, animals or pets being killed. If you're a cat person, then you're not going to like this part of the film. And of course, the invasion itself. A cult of strangely masked people show up. Some of them are wearing like the skull of animals, rams and deer. The other ones just have masks on, or hoods and whatever. We know they're a cult because they're holding like pentagram things and fire, and it doesn't really matter. The imagery is all we really get. There's not a whole lot of context about the cult, and it doesn't really matter. This isn't the kind of movie that's going for depth. It's just using what has already been established as successful narratives within the horror genre. Doesn't do anything new. Doesn't even do what it does particularly well, although I will say it's well shot. It is well shot. That's the end of my praise for this film. I mean, look, it has a lot of what we come to expect from these films. There's another stranger shows up and doesn't last very long, like any of them do. If a cop, a friend, anyone shows up in a home invasion film, they're not going to last very long. Is there a twist at the end? Yeah. Is it surprising? I don't know. Did I care? No. The filmmaking itself is not awful in terms of the production design. It's well shot. You know, the setting is okay. Music's okay. It's got some, like, supernatural stylized sequences that are okay. But it doesn't really matter when you start with a script that this is this uninspired, that's this generic, that's just kind of taking what's been done before and doing absolutely nothing new with it. It doesn't really matter. There's far better movies that you could see that are like this. There have been hundreds, and I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of home invasion films made over the last 20 years. So pick one of those. Pretty much any of those. And you'll be better off, if not in the same boat, as watching this film. So in terms of special features, because that's, I know, what everyone is desperate to find out about, the Blu-ray comes with a behind-the-scenes little group of featurettes. You got some special feature on the birthing sequence, which is admittedly creepy. If I cared at all about the plot, I would have been more impressed by it. And then the overall look of the film, which, like I said, it's not bad. If only there was a good script. And the score. I don't remember the score. I'm sure it was passable. I just don't remember it. It was what it was. There's also a commentary from the director and a short film that he had previously made, actually right before this. The short film is better than this film. It also feels like it has no point. It feels derivative. Yeah, it is what it is. It reminded me a lot of Wes Craven's Shocker, but not as good. But yeah, at least it's only 7 minutes long, so you have that going for you. Thank you for letting me invade your computer screen. Until next time, enjoy the show.